Ignition sequence starts. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
Hey everybody, this is the Digital Asset Investor, and Ryan Selkis is not too happy this morning, and I don't blame him. He says, this is what the SEC protection looks like. Aren't you grateful your tax dollars go to Gary Gensler, who already made $100 million from Goldman Sachs, so he can pull the ladder up behind himself and screw you? And he's talking about the market being crushed in the last 24 hours because of Gary Gensler's actions. And remember, SEC's primary role, as Gary always says, is to protect investors, and this is what he calls protecting investors. And Eleanor Terrett she said there's a couple of Ripple billboards up here in Union Station. I made a reference to them in my article. However, this one, which is right opposite the entrance to SEC, says, "We're building a better future for finance, are you?" Watch this. There it is. And then there's the SEC building, or the entrance, I guess. Now, Ryan Selkis is in luck this morning because he has a problem with Gary Gensler, and he's pointing out some of the specific problems. And the good news for you, Ryan, if you're listening, is that we've been collecting the receipts. And so I'm going to point them out to you. I've got them all. Gary Gensler was chummy with John Corzine, John Corzine was Gary's boss at Goldman Sachs back in the day, and then presided over the MF Global $1 billion in customer funds lost. Then Gary Gensler ran you-know-who's campaign and was also involved, supposedly, he was the guy that was in charge of writing the checks for what became the faked Russian dossier. Then he helped Sam Bankman-Fried, who lost $8 billion of customer funds. I'll just show you briefly part of the receipts. Here's MF Global.
Now, another question. Trying to figure out how much involvement Chairman Gensler had in the early stages of the MF Global problems, you ask, I have this question. Prior to October 31st, did you have any discussion with Gensler about the state of affairs at MF Global and whether MF Global was in trouble? And when were those, and if you did have conversations, when were those conversations, and what exactly did you discuss with Chairman Gensler?
Now listen to how Corzine kind of jumps around here. He doesn't get too specific on when he talked to Gary Gensler.
Senator, Chairman Gensler may or may not have been on some of the joint regulatory calls where I gave updates to...
Yeah. So anyway, bottom line is Gary Gensler was formerly his employee, and then he's presiding over a fraud where he never went to jail, by the way, and Gary Gensler is the regulator of him at the time. Gary Gensler was in charge. Then here's the clip. Ryan Selkis had pointed out the you-know-who's campaign, the person we don't say on this channel. And, of course, this classic clip from rock star Byron Donalds.
Hey, real quick, last question. I think it might have came up. You were Hillary Clinton's CFO in the campaign, right?
It's part of my history.
Were you? Yes or no?
In 2016.
Did you facilitate the payment for the Steele dossier since you were CFO of the Hillary Clinton campaign?
Sir.
Yes or no?
Sir.
Yes or no?
I like how he says, sir, like, oh, that's an inappropriate question whether I was involved in something fraudulent.
That was not...
You're under oath, Chairman Gensler, yes or no?
I know. It was not something I was aware of.
I yield back the rest of my time. Thank you.
He wasn't aware of it. He just keeps popping up in all these places. And then, of course, this is the Sam Bankman-Fried. Remember, Gary Gensler was meeting... Joseph Lubin and Sam Bankman-Fried are the only two people that I'm aware of who have been able to successfully come in and see us. They were literally in the process Sam Bankman-Fried was in the process of working a deal with the CFTC and the SEC.
Will you commit to sharing with this committee any internal documents you come across regarding communication between FTX and Mr. Gensler or others at the SEC?
We'll fully cooperate, with the committee and the regulatory authorities with respect to our investigation.
Again, specifically, I just want copies that this committee will want copies of those communications to the extent they exist.
We can certainly work with your staff to get you what you need.
Thank you.
Let me tell you, the subpoenas are going to fly over to Gary Gensler, so he needs to be ready for that. And hopefully that will keep some of the excesses that we've seen at the SEC in check.
Yeah, interesting point you bring up, because I interviewed Congressman Tom Emmer multiple times, and he gave a kind of a famous line, I believe a month or two ago, where he said a new day is coming, and he was talking to the SEC enforcement director, and kind of alluding to potentially Republicans, winning the midterms, and then he said having the gavel, they will have the gavel in their hands to then keep regulators like Gary Gensler in check.
Well, so far it doesn't look like they're keeping him in check.
And, there's a few things they can do. One is oversight, subpoenas of emails and such. Unfortunately, what we've heard is that there are staff at the SEC that are using apps like Signal and WhatsApp, like we do, to try to keep our communications private. They're doing the same thing to keep them private.
That's what we still haven't heard anything about. That's where you dig. Now, eGreg Crypto, in the midst of this crypto pullback, XRP has held up pretty decently compared to some of these other things for reasons that to me are becoming kind of obvious. The breakthrough, this is the part I wanted to show you, the breakthrough of the Valhalla Gate. New term. He's talked about Valhalla. I didn't know there was a gate to it. Valhalla Gate at $2.80 is crucial. Once achieved, there are no structural barriers for XRP to reach all-time high and skyrocket to $10 within days. I like the sound of that. Now, John Deaton yesterday came out, his law firm put out an awesome video. Remember, the Hinman emails will be released on Tuesday. This is great. It's a great reminder.
In 2018, William Hinman was Director of Corporation Finance at the SEC. He gave a speech explaining why the token Ether is not a security.
Putting aside the fundraising that accompanied the creation of Ether, based on my understanding of the present state of Ether, the Ethereum network, its decentralized structure, we believe current offers and sales of Ether are not securities transactions.
Hinman's speech moved the markets, seen widely as guidance from a high-ranking SEC official on what makes a token a security or not. Then, in December 2020, the SEC sued Ripple, claiming that XRP is a security, with arguments that contradicted Hinman's speech. Hundreds of thousands of XRP holders who never heard of the company lost $15 billion in value and had their holdings locked on exchanges. They demanded to know, why did an SEC official give that speech, only to then sue Ripple and harm the people they are supposed to protect? For 2 years, the SEC has been hiding dozens of internal emails on the drafting of the Hinman speech that could answer those questions. What is in those emails? We know that while he was at the SEC, Hinman collected $15 million from his old law firm, Simpson Thacher. That firm was a member of the Enterprise Ethereum Alliance, whose sole purpose was to promote Ether. We know that market participants repeatedly asked for guidance about whether XRP was a security and got no answer. What is in those emails? Why did Hinman give that speech? Was he warned about moving the markets? What is in those emails? Was the speech approved by the ethics office? What role did third-party promoters of Ether have in drafting it? Did SEC staff say what Gary Gensler refuses to admit, that the rules on crypto are not clear? What is in those emails? After 2 years of fighting, Judge Torres has forced the SEC to unseal the Hinman emails. What has the SEC been hiding? What is in those emails? We'll finally find out on June 13th.
June 13th is coming. I wanted to show you this because this is that video. I won't play the video, but in 24 hours it's been viewed 605,000 times. And do you know why it's been viewed 605,000 times? Because in my opinion, the world, the US, the world, crypto community, all of them have been lied to by our government about the fact that Satoshi Nakamoto has been known all along. And I think Raoul Pal just admitted it. And he also admitted that he's thought it for a long time too. Not that he's known. But I've always believed that the top Bitcoin pundits in crypto all had a knowledge that the rest of us didn't have. Because they're all, and when I say that, I mean the sophisticated people, some of these ex-Goldman guys and all those people, because they're too sophisticated not to know the obvious that I've been saying for a long time, which is there's fiduciary duties involved. You could not have people invest in something not knowing who created it, and they know this kind of stuff. And the fact that he's coming out now and saying, oh, I've thought this for a long time, you didn't hear these guys saying that kind of stuff over the last 5 years. It tells me that the money-making racket on the Bitcoin Ethereum racket might be coming to an end, or so a bunch of them may have known that they had a window of time where they could make billions in that racket, and that time's coming to an end because those were nothing but prototypes and testing grounds. Stuart Alderati, this week we saw the SEC bet on a strategy of shock and awe. My money remains all in on the rule of law. Now, Eleanor Terrett had put this out. Cardano founder Charles Hoskinson tells Fox Business in response to Robinhood delisting ADA, it's not surprising that when there's a lack of clarity, contradictory guidance, and a culture of fear instead of collaboration with regulators, that some entities will choose to simply start leaving the markets entirely. And then somebody showed this. I'm blocked by Charles Hoskinson, but he had apparently said XRP community peace ? And I am all for peace, so I retweeted that and I said peace. So if Charles Hoskinson, I already unblocked, I had him blocked after he blocked me. And so if he unblocks me, then me and him have peace at least. I can't speak for everybody else. Now, Jay Clayton, this goes into the one flew over the cuckoo's nest file, because Jay Clayton all of a sudden is a crypto guy.
Jay, how do you see it?
And he's also, it kills me watching this guy act like he's some innocent bystander who never was in a position of power to have dealt with all of this stuff a long time ago and squandered it, and instead helped get the whole Gary Gensler train going.
Secretary Gensler's moves? If you were SEC chair, would you have taken these moves?
He was SEC chair. That's not the question. The question is, you were SEC chair. Why did you do what you did? Why did you go after Ripple? Why did you give Ethereum free pass? Stop teeing this a-hole, as my 10-year-old would say, up.
Look, it's his leadership now. He's been in this position for over 2 years. Where they've gone with this, I'm not going to be the person who throws bombs or second guesses from the sidelines. I am a supporter of the agency. I'm a supporter of the law the way it is. I think that when I was there, people would say I was a crypto hawk. We effectively shut down the ICO craze. Said that most of what I'm seeing is securities activity. But I do think we are having very blunt conversations about.
Well, I guess he meant by crypto hawk that he was negative on crypto.
Thing that requires nuance. Crypto is really a technology. The use of blockchain technology in all sorts of aspects of our financial system should be not controversial. If you have an asset, pick a CMBS security, represented in tokenized form,
right,
there ought to be a way to custody that, transfer it, because it's probably going to be more efficient than what we're doing today. So there is a crypto use case that is clear, uncontroversial. We ought to be thinking about how to do that. I am remarkably impressed by the functionality of true stablecoins, not the algorithmic stablecoin, not the liquidity transformation stablecoin, but a true backed by the same thing that we back bank accounts by. Okay, let's just put it that way. Or backed by the same thing that, you would back a repo by. Something like that, a true stable coin, a remarkable technology at the retail level to be able to transfer dollars around the world. I mean, we use $100 bills in cash for a lot of things. I say we, not the populace, but people outside the United States. Wouldn't a stable coin be a better way to do that? Wouldn't it be better for KYC? Wouldn't it be better for AML? I think so. I think we got to be looking at that technology.
Okay, I may have just thrown up on my laptop a little bit here. Now, John Deaton points this out. Big win. This is Caitlin Long. Wanted to show you this briefly because it says the Federal Reserve lost its motion to dismiss yesterday. Custodia Bank can move forward with its plausible claims. We win in court. Now, I'm just telling you what I recall about this. Caitlin Long has been dealing with the Federal Reserve, and she was, a while back, I had put out a clip of her, and I remember her saying that she was going to break some news on the stage. And she was basically saying that her bank had been trying to get some kind of licensure, and meanwhile, the feds had approved, I believe it was BNY Mellon, for the same thing she had been trying to get, that they kept rejecting her on, and so it was going to be some kind of big controversy. And I think that's what this is about, is she's trying to get to the bottom of it. Now I want to show you a couple of things here. This guy says the SEC's fight against digital assets will fail. Here's 2 facts and 2 rumors. I want to get to the 2 rumors. Rumor number 1, Gensler offered to serve as an advisor for Binance in 2019, which undermines the credibility of everything Gensler has to say about the company. And rumor number 2, that Gensler and the SEC were in 2 friendly talks with SBF and FTX. Well, that's not a rumor, that's a fact. I think the other one might be a fact too. While ignoring Coinbase attempts to comply and help with regulation, I'm confident that these will be investigated and heavily scrutinized in court. I'm the digital asset investor. I'm not an investment advisor. This is for entertainment purposes only. Please subscribe, hit the like button, and tell your friends and family that Gensler, if I'm being polite, Gensler is extremely incompetent, but I think he's something far worse than that. And I think the tell is in the Representative Donaldson. Is that his name, Donaldson? I keep forgetting his name, what his name is. It's Byron Donalds. Okay. This guy is an American hero right here. Thanks for